We thought we did everything right. We talked through everything. We planned, we prayed, we were ready.
And then we told the kids.
And they were not as excited as we were.
Not even close.
And we genuinely did not see that coming.
Hey guys, we're Chris and Casey from Our Family Rescue.
We have real conversations about blended family life. The great parts, the hard parts, the messy parts, and how to get through them all without it costing you your marriage.
Because when the marriage is healthy, the whole family benefits.
And when the marriage starts struggling, the kids feel that too. And we've learned that the hard way.
We're not therapists or counselors. We're a couple who's lived this.
We both grew up in blended families and then ended up building one of our own.
When we got together, we brought 6 kids under one roof, different ages, personalities, and needs.
And like most couples, we thought love would make it all come together.
It didn't.
We went through seasons of tension, exhaustion, and feeling completely overwhelmed.
But our commitment to God, to each other, and to our family is what carried us through.
And over time, we learned what actually works and what doesn't.
That's why we started Our Family Rescue.
Because when we were going through it, we felt alone, and we don't want any other families to feel that way.
We will share personal stories, but just so you know, we keep all of our kids' details private.
But we will always tell you how it felt from our side, and honestly, that's the most important part anyway, right?
Of course.
Today we're talking about something that caught us completely off guard. And if you're in a blended family, I think you're gonna relate to this one.
Can I just say something that every blended family parent probably needs to hear?
Yeah, please.
Kids think about themselves. That's not a criticism. That's just how kids are wired. They process everything through one filter. How does this affect me?
And when you're building a new family, that's actually really important to understand. Because you might be seeing the big picture, a loving home, a stable marriage, a fresh start. But your kids, they're seeing something completely different.
They're seeing everything they lost, everything that changed, everything that's new and unfamiliar and honestly a little scary.
And they didn't get a vote.
Which means no matter how good your intentions are, you can't just hand a child a brand new family and expect them to be grateful for it.
We learned that one the hard way. Chris and I spent months preparing for our life together. Months. We talked through everything, our parenting styles, our finances, our expectations, our fears. We asked each other the hard questions. We role-played scenarios. We dreamed about what our family was going to look like. And all through all of that time together, we fell deeply in love and built a really strong foundation. But here's what we didn't think about. The kids weren't in any of those conversations. We kept them out of the early stages of our relationship intentionally to protect them from getting too attached too soon in case things didn't work out, which made complete sense at the time. But what that meant was Chris and I had months of preparation and the kids had almost none. We showed up ready and they were blindsided. One day their lives looked one way and then suddenly new siblings, new rules, a new parent figure making decisions in their home. Old traditions that just disappeared and new ones starting that felt exciting, but maybe also a little wrong to be excited about. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, they were still grieving the family they had before, the one that broke apart when we divorced. We were moving forward and building something new, and they were still processing the loss of something old. Those two things were happening at the exact same time, just not in sync. When I really sat with that, it broke my heart a little because we thought we were doing everything for them. And we were, but we had thought of everything for them without giving them a chance to think through it themselves. That's a hard thing to realize after the fact.
I'll be honest. I walked into this with a lot of hope, maybe too much. I genuinely believe that because our kids had been through the pain of divorce, they would understand maybe better than most kids what it meant to have a real home again. A mom and a dad under one roof, providing a stable home. I thought they'd see that and feel relieved. And in some ways, eventually, they did, but not at first. At first, what I didn't fully appreciate was just how much change I was asking them to absorb all at once. Think about it from a kid's perspective. Their entire world had already been turned upside down by the divorce. And now, before they'd even finished processing that, everything changed again. New house, new family, new siblings they'd never grown up with. Older kids suddenly sharing space with little ones suddenly looking up to teenagers who never asked to be role models. And every single one of them trying to figure out where they fit in this new picture. We kept telling them this was going to be great, and I believe that, still do. But I also know now that telling a kid something is going to be great doesn't make them feel that way. What I really wish we had had was more time. Time for the kids to build relationships with each other before we all moved in together. Time for each of them to bond with their step-parent one-on-one, not just as part of a big group of 6. Logistically, that wasn't possible for us. The finances, the schools, the jobs, it all pointed to moving forward when we did. And I stand by that decision. But I also carry a real awareness of what it costs the kids to adapt on the fly the way they had to. And here's the thing I want every parent watching this to hear. We never stopped loving those kids through all of it. We were trying so hard to build something good for them. And I believe they knew that, even in the hardest moments. But good intentions don't automatically make a transition easy, especially for a child.
I want to give our kids a lot of credit here because looking back, what they did was genuinely hard.
They didn't get a runway. They got thrown into the deep end and had to figure out how to swim while they were already in the water.
And they did. Not perfectly, none of us did. But they showed up, they adapted, they built relationships with each other and with us over time. That takes real resilience.
And we also want to be clear. We don't sit in the coulda, woulda, shoulda. We made the best decisions we could with what we knew at the time and what our situation allowed.
But if we could go back and add one thing, we would have been much more intentional about one-on-one time. Individual dates with each child, bio kids and step kids, to build those relationships outside of the chaos of the whole family dynamic.
Because every child in a blended family needs to feel seen as an individual, not just as part of the group. And that takes intentional, focused time with just them.
And what we would absolutely do again, moving forward together, leading them in faith, building new traditions, creating new memories. We were never going to wait for everyone to be ready. That day may never come, and honestly, it was our decision to make as adults.
But we'd make it with a little more grace for how long it takes kids to catch up.
So what's the actual takeaway here for couples who are in this right now?
First, lower your expectations for the timeline. Your kids will come around, but it will be on their schedule, not yours.
And stop measuring your family's success by how happy the kids seem about it. Early resistance doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It just means your kids are human.
Second, give each child individual attention, not just as a group, but one-on-one. A meal, an activity, something that says, I see you specifically. That goes for both your bio kids and your step kids.
Because in a house full of people, it's really easy for a child to feel invisible. And a child who feels invisible will find other ways to be seen.
And third, keep talking to each other as a couple about how the kids are doing. Not just reacting to problems, but actually checking in. How do you think she's adjusting? What does he seem to need right now? That kind of conversation keeps you on the same team.
Which is exactly where you need to be.
Here's what we know for sure. When the marriage is strong, the kids feel safer, even when things are hard, even when they're resistant. A stable, loving marriage at the center of the home gives kids something to anchor to.
And the reverse is also true. When the kids are struggling and the couple starts pulling apart because of it, everybody loses. The kids feel that instability and it makes their adjustment even harder.
So one of the most important things you can do for your kids during a difficult transition is protect your marriage in the middle of it.
That means not letting the stress of the kids' adjustment become a wedge between you. It means coming to each other as partners, not opponents, when something isn't working.
And it means giving each other grace too. You're both figuring this out in real time.
There's no perfect playbook for blending a family. What works in one season may not work in the next. And what works for one child may not work for another.
So stay flexible, stay communicative, and keep choosing each other, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days.
Because when your kids look back on their childhood in this family, What they're going to remember most is not whether everything went smoothly. They're going to remember whether they felt loved and whether the people raising them were on the same team. If any of this felt familiar, if you've been there, wondering why your kids aren't on board the way you'd hoped, I promise you're not alone.
Almost every blended family goes through this, but most couples are out there trying to navigate it without any real trail map.
That's exactly why we created Blended Family Survival Training. It walks couples through the most common challenges blended families face, step by step, with real tools you can actually use right where you are.
The training teaches couples how to communicate and work through these situations together. And if you want to see whether it's the right fit for your family, we put together a free starter kit. No pressure, no commitment, just a starting point.
When you grab the free starter kit, you'll also get access to a video walkthrough of the full course, so you can see exactly what's inside before you decide anything.
Just go to ourfamilyrescue.com. The link is right here in the description.
And if this video resonated with you, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, because our next video is one you're really going to want to see.
Next time, we're getting into something that causes a lot of quiet tension in blended families. Who do you actually put first? Your spouse or your kids? Because most couples are getting that order wrong, and it's slowly costing them their marriage without them even realizing it.
We post regularly, and every single video is a real, honest conversation about what it actually takes to build a strong, healthy marriage inside a blended family.
We are not pretending we have it all figured out, but we've been through it, and we're here to walk through it with you.
Thanks for tuning in. We're really glad you're here.